episode 134, Find, Keep, and Enjoy the Right Relationships. Welcome to Gratitude Geek, the relationship marketing podcast, helping micropreneurs find your micro-influencer magic. I'm your host, Kandas Rodarte, and this week I'm joined by relationship coach, Michelle Hoffman. Michelle is a 2 times international bestselling author, speaker, and relationship coach, helping you find the confidence to live and love life as you dream it through the art of relationshiping. I think we said the word relationship about 8 times so far. So this is about relationships, people. All right,
That's
Michelle.
it. In case you were wondering, if you're interested in upgrading the relationships in your life, you've come to the right place.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. So tell us your unique story. How did you become this relationshiping goddess?
Well, the reality is I've always been a relationshiping goddess. I just didn't realize that that was a full-time career. So if you're asking about my story, it would start in the Wayback Machine. When I was a kid, we had a tradition in our household. You may also have had this tradition that on your birthday, we would get a cake with a candle. They'd sing a song. You probably know the song, and they'd wish you a happy birthday. You got to close your eyes, make a wish, and blow out the candle. Do you have any memory of the wish you used to make when you blew out the candle on your birthday cake?
Nope.
None.
Not a one.
No. If you were going to make a wish today, what would it be?
Oh, it's something that's really deep in my soul. I would wish that every woman in the world, all around the world, had access to the kind of healthcare that they need when they need it, without any interruption by anybody. Nobody telling them that they can't have that healthcare that they need.
That's a good wish. So I've asked this question many times. You might be curious to know some of the answers. People have wished for a bike. They wished for a pony. They wished for all the chocolate they could possibly eat. One person wished they could be a crime scene investigator. I know. You never know. And all the best health care for all the women in the world. So I'm going to add you into the list. My wish when I was growing up was to be in the best relationship I could have imagined and to create a family of my own. It was a simple, straightforward wish that I didn't have a clear picture of. And I did get my wish. I found the perfect guy for me, not a fancy, showy person. We were nothing alike, but we had everything in common. And I met him on a cruise ship. We were seated at the wrong dinner table, at the wrong dinner seating. And my cousin and I chatted with these 2 guys. By the end of dinner, he knew I was the one for him. It took me a little longer. That night on the dance floor, he was brave enough to kiss me. And I did what every man dreams of when he kisses a woman. I laughed.
If they don't dream it, they should expect it.
Right. Exactly. He was courageous enough to ask, "What's so funny?" And I said, "Whoa, my life was going down the track this way, and now my life is going down the track toward you." That's what every man dreams of when he kisses a woman. So we got married. We had kids. We created a home. We created a family. We created our own little life. And it was perfect until he died. And that left me head of household, sole parent, and you guessed it, single. Something I never thought I'd have to deal with again. And I was quite the professional. I had been a portfolio manager. I worked as a high-level executive in the medical publishing industry. I was a social scientist at the Department of Medicine at Stanford. So professionally, I knew I could do whatever I had set my mind to. But this was a tailspin because, first of all, the life as I knew it could be or should have been was gone. So, grieving through that, but also the children, their life was never going to be the same. So I had to figure out, shall I just stay stuck in grief and curl up and soak my pillow and then roll to the other side, lather, rinse, repeat? Or do I pull myself together just like I would do at work and create a project plan and do something about it? Well, because you and I are here, you know which way I went. And I still believed in that wish that I made as a little kid. Okay. So I figured it out for myself. And then one of my very good friends I used to go running with in high school went out for a run, had a heart attack, and died. And I thought, oh my God, I don't know what to do. And as you know, of course, I did know what to do, and I could not do nothing. So I went to his widow and said, this is never going to be okay. I'm going to hold your hand and walk this journey with you. Let's project manage this thing. And that's where things started to go in fast forward for me, because my community started to show to me, we need you. Go help them. Go help them. You're very successful at this. You're helping other people be successful at this. So really, it was listening to the demand, knowing I had the supply, if you want to just make economics out of it. So as a result of that, I wrote my first book, Life Worth Living. And what I realized as it became an international bestseller was that people all over the world were coming to me and asking if I can help them through it, but not just widowhood, everything. They came to me saying, you know how to help me build relationships with my children. You know how to help me help my children build relationships. And I'll tell you the common theme in all the adults, please help me attract, keep, and enjoy the right love in my life, because that's what people have been missing the most. No matter how spectacularly successful you might be at work, in your career, professionally, amazing friends surround you, you know you've got it going on, but there's some block, some blind spot, something that's keeping you from finding the right partner in your life. So as a result of that, people are now coming to me saying, can you help me find my true love? And that's what's so amazing, that from the love I shared with my husband in particular, my late husband, I learned so much that it's so easy for me to pave the way for other people to find their dream come true life and love, even if they've never known what true love really feels like. And that's the story that brings me to the art of relationshiping.
When I was prepping for this interview, I didn't catch that you were a widow. But that makes a lot of sense now that you've told me. So how long has it been?
2016. He passed in 2016.
Oh, that wasn't very long ago.
Yeah, doesn't matter any seconds or weeks, months, years, because I will always, always cherish him and know, I mean, this is going fast forward to, I guess you were saying the last question. I value the relationship that we shared and the life adventures. And I know he lived a full and happy life. It just wasn't long enough. We have more to do together. And I value even what grief holds and honor that and treasure it. And that's what moves me forward. And there was an article done on the kids and me. I think they titled it, A Family Who Lost Love Helps Others Find It. And it's like, yeah, that's it. It's totally true.
Wow. That's really
Totally
beautiful.
true.
Very, very
Thanks.
beautiful. Oh. Anyway, the thing that really compelled me to want to talk to you was this whole relationshiping word, because you have turned a
Yep.
noun into a verb.
I
And
have.
really, it doesn't matter if we're talking about relationships with loved ones, family, if you're trying to attract a mate, if you're you're in business and you're trying to attract customers, relationship is a verb. You have to work at it. It doesn't just happen overnight. And some people are better at it than others. I think that's called magnetism. I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
it's still, even the ones who make it look easy have to work at it. So I
Yeah.
love that you've turned it into a verb. So where did that idea come from? Dig into that for me.
You know what? It just came naturally. And I love that you see it's more than a noun, it is a verb. Here's what I learned. All relationships go through the same cycle, from chemistry to casual to committed. And I can explain each of those processes to you. And that's what's so magical. If you're starting a business and you want to attract the right clients to you, or if you're single and you want to attract the right love to you, or if you have, I mean, it's the relationship with your inner voice, with your body, your relationship with food, with money, with your family, with your kids, with, I guess kids are in your family, with your community, with work, with whatever it is. All relationships follow the same cycle, from chemistry to casual to committed. And I can walk you through that. Pick a relationship and I'll walk you through that. A relationship with a new job, a relationship with a new client.
Let's talk about the relationship with a new client. Let's put this into a business perspective, because if we can make it work with a business, we can make it work with an intimate partner. So take me through the process with a new customer.
With a new customer. So here we are at the beginning of a relationship. It's the chemistry phase. And literally, the law of attraction is going to bring you together. So here's this new client. We imagine that this client has come to you because your core values are similar, because they are seeking you, because you have something that's going to enhance their life experience. So you're offering something, you're the giver, they're the receiver. I think people say taker, but I like to choose receiver in this case. It's a different relationship, give and take versus give and receive. That's a whole other topic.
Oh, we can dig into that after you're done with this, because I do want to dig into that, but not right now. Sure. Keep going. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
That's okay. So here you are excited because there's something that you have to offer, and you see someone that you can share this gift, this opportunity with, either a product or a service, whatever it is. And here's what's happening, because in the chemistry phase, literally the chemistry of your body changes, just like two cells coming together would act and interact with one another. So very much on a basic scientific level. But inside you, when someone says, I'm buying this, you are exactly what I'm looking for, then something happens in both of you. The serotonin bumps up, the dopamine rush, the oxytocin, which is considered the love or the cuddle drug that actually makes you reach out and build community. It's this euphoria, like you're eating too much chocolate. It's a very exciting moment. And it can last as long as you'd like, because in the chemistry phase, you just feel like you're walking on air like cotton candy. And in this phase, you are going to see everything that's right with what's going on in this fresh or new relationship. And it's so gorgeous because your brain is going to go into a million ways to find the connection, the intersections, the opportunities of how can I enhance this new client's experience, the moments of truth, the opportunities where what you have to offer them is going to change their business to be more successful, their life to be more successful. Oh my God, it's such an exciting phase. Then from chemistry, it moves to casual. In the casual phase of a relationship, what happens is we as humans, as mammals, love to look forward to and anticipate things that we know we're going to enjoy. So let's say you've onboarded this client into your business, and you know that you're going to be able to exceed expectations on every moment of truth in the cycle of service, I call it. And with that, you have an opportunity to look forward to another interaction with this client, because you know it's going to be spectacular. And you know that what you have to offer is going to be a positive experience, not only for your client, but for you. It's so the tide raises boats, all boats on the same. There's some quote that you can put in there.
A rising tide lifts all boats.
Thank you very much. Ooh, you're handy.
It's one of my favorite quotes.
It's a good one. So the rising tide lifts all boats. Is that how it goes? So when you're looking forward to and experiencing an intersection or an interaction that you can anticipate and it's going to go well, you're going to look forward to that. So this is what happens in the casual phase. This would be like, you've got this, you're going to feel good about it, they're going to feel good about it. It's fantastic. There's something else that happens in the casual phase of a relationship. And that is we start to look for what's not going right. In business, this is equally as important as what is going right. And here is why. When you see red flags, and that means this is a deal breaker, this might be an opportunity for you to understand that there's something out of alignment with this client relationship. And that means you should move into action to figure out, how do we resolve this potential problem to bring it to what I would call a yellow flag. So that just means caution, and then clear it into a green light, go into the connected or committed phase of a relationship. Oof, that's the dog. So if there's something that's happening that is out of alignment and it's not right with the relationship, it's going to become apparent here in the casual phase. And that's your job to, like I said, move into action and solve that problem or readjust the communication. And through communication, trust, and respect, you up-level the relationship to a committed phase, which automatically throws you back into the chemistry phase of the relationship at an even higher level. So this is how you build client loyalty, that even when things go wrong, when you can show up and work through it with a client and be the solution they're looking for, that's going to build loyalty through communication, trust, building respect, that they are going to stick with you for the long run. So that's an example of that relationship pattern, from chemistry to casual to committed.
So the whole time you're talking, I kept thinking about Linda Longden, my Shackley rep. Shackley's a vitamin company, right? So Shackley Vitamins, it's a network marketing company. It's been around a long time. I mean, I am not a Shackley affiliate, so I'm going to get a lot of these details wrong. But I do know that I buy a lot of Shackley Vitamins, right? And even though they're expensive, I don't even consider buying my vitamins from the grocery store, because I am so committed to doing business with Linda Longden. Because not only are the supplements excellent, I mean, I can tell a difference. If I run out of one of them, I have one that I take every day. If I run out of it, I can tell. And I've never had that experience with a different supplement. But just the whole thing that she did, she introduced me. There was chemistry, the chemistry phase. She introduced me to the vitamins. She started me on one. And then she just kept relationshiping. And now I'm at the point where every time I need to buy a supplement, I buy it from her. Every time.
And it sounds like, I love that you did that. And, yay. Plus you have the product right there on hand. So you are definitely loyal. She has built a loyal customer in you.
Exactly. And she's a network marketer. It's that she doesn't stop. She doesn't stop relationshiping.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Mm-hmm. She is emailing me. She's sending me cards. She's sending me text message. Every once in a while, she says, "Hey, I put something free in your cart. All you have to do is purchase something else, and I'll pick up the charge on the other thing," which is kind of a neat thing that Shackley does. But yeah, so I sometimes buy stuff when I don't need it, just because she says, "I put something free in your cart," and I'm like, okay, so I can buy something else to go with that.
Right. So now it's exciting.
She's really
it's a mystery gift.
Yeah, she's so good at relationshiping. And so as a network marketer, if you're a network marketer, learn from Linda Longden.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And I'll put a link to Linda's Shackley business in the show notes, because
Linda's going to be thanking us for this.
But so the whole time you're talking,
that's how you move. Good. So also she was top of mind.
Exactly.
By doing that, a top of mind. And that's what you want to do. Turning a noun into a verb from relationship to relationshiping means you're actively involved. It means that you're moving with intention, that you're thoughtful about what you say and do, because what you say and do matters. So Linda's done a good job on that because she's stayed top of mind with you.
Exactly. And they're on my desk so that I remember to take them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I want to go back to the taking and the receiving. When I think of taking, I think of somebody who goes, mine, mine, and very closed. And receiving, hands are open and it's very open. So am I right? Is that how you see it?
You are right.
Dig into that more.
Dig in. Here we go. So here's what happens. Many of my clients are givers, and we gotta love the givers. I'm a giver too, naturally, otherwise I wouldn't be doing this job. And what happens with givers, what I learned is givers get something by giving. And givers, oh my God, there's so many pitfalls for the sweet, sweet givers. Because when you don't understand that you're getting something from giving, what could happen, there's an obstacle that could occur. And that is you could suddenly say, hey, I'm giving to you. Why aren't you giving back? Or I'm giving to you. Why don't you appreciate it? Or I'm giving to you. Why are you taking from me? I have nothing else to give. So, literally, these sweet, loving givers, if they match themselves up with a taker, there's literally nothing left. And then they could be like deflated, lost, and have no energy left. So, I say, take what you need, not more than what you need. Give what you can, not more than what you have. With that, if you're a giver and someone is taking, sometimes givers, the way givers respond could be they have to just run to protect themselves, they feel angry. And that's not the outcome you really want when you're giving. So when I'm working with givers, I make sure that we're keenly aware of who are the people in your neighborhood. Who are you working with? Who are you connecting with? Who are you relationshiping with? Are they takers? Are they receivers? Or are they givers? So givers and receivers, they work just fine because the receivers give givers a purpose. Receivers know how to show gratitude, and they know how to be appreciative for this give and receive relationship. Another good match is givers and givers, because then there's give back and forth. And then the givers feel recognized and appreciated, which we all would like that. We all want to know we are enough and that we are valued and valuable. But when you match a giver and a taker, it's very exciting initially because everyone's feeling full of purpose. But after time, the takers are like, hey, how come you're not giving me what I want? And the givers are like, I've got nothing else to give. And they forget that they trained the taker to take from them.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very interesting dynamic.
Wow. You trained the taker to take from you. Holy crap. That's pretty profound right there. Some people are going to hear that and go, I did.
You did.
So what happens? What happens next? What do you do? How do you fix that?
So I'm going to try and think of an example. What you do is like a give and a take is through communication, trust. You build respect and up level the relationship. There needs to be a conversation, recognition, and also a little bit of adjustment in the training. It would please me if real clarity. Nobody's a mind reader here. Very few people. If you know someone, then I don't know if that's good or bad. If you're in a relationship with a mind reader,
I hope not. Oh. That could be scary. So I have an example I can share that's personal. Okay. I spent about 10 years as a Girl Scout leader, and when I say leader, I mean on every level. Like,
I love that.
Like there was a time where there was Girl Scouts is organized into service. Back then, it was organized into service units, and the service units were part of an overall council. So our service unit that my daughter's Girl Scout troop, our service unit lost its leadership team. There was nobody left to run it. So I had been the treasurer, but I didn't want to run the service unit. So what I did was I asked the council if I could throw a wine party for all the troop leaders in the service unit. And they said, sure, you can throw a wine party, but no kids are allowed. Well, I didn't want kids to be there anyway. So I threw a wine and cheese party at a very fancy restaurant. More leaders showed up to this event than had ever showed up to any event ever before. And I basically pitched them. I said, here's where we are. We don't have a leadership team. Somebody in this room needs to step up, or we're not going to have we're not going to have a service unit, which means, there won't be any troop support. And after that event was over, we had a leadership team in place. And then I continued to do little things like that behind the scenes, right? Little things like that. My troop created all these things, like events. We did all these events, and then we taught another troop how to do it. So we would do it the first year, and then we teach another troop to do it the next year. And one of the events that we taught another troop how to do was the end of year celebration event with the recognition. So we did this 1 year or 2 years. We would do it 1 or 2 years, and then we teach another troop to take over. Well, one of the awards that was awarded at this end of year event was Troop Leader of the Year. All right. In the 10 years that I worked behind the scenes to get all this stuff done, I was never once awarded Leader of the Year. Never. Volunteer of the Year, nothing. Girl Scouts never recognized me for any of the work that I did. Right. However, after I left Girl Scouts, I received recognition for things that were really not that I would receive huge recognition for things that I didn't think I deserved that big of a huge recognition for. Right. So sometimes the giver just isn't going to get what they need from the person that's taking, or from the organization that's taking. And for me, the biggest lesson that I learned was, just because I didn't get recognized for the work that I did there didn't mean I shouldn't do the work.
Right.
Because it wasn't about me getting an award. It was about the hundreds of girls who were able to do programs.
Exactly. And you knew that every breath you took along the way. It was just surprising that it's like, hey, I should be recognized for this. And so you did. You recognized yourself. So here's the thing. What I say is that gratitude grows in a forward motion. The river cannot thank the creek and the rain for the water. The ocean, it just flows into the ocean, and the ocean cannot thank the river. It just flows in the way that it does, and that cycle continues. So gratitude grows in a forward motion. Givers need to know that they're giving for the sake of giving, and then intrinsically the reward is there. And you learned that. You knew that all along.
I knew it all along. And actually, I was deflated when my daughter was done with Girl Scouts. It was our last award ceremony. I was expecting the award, and I was deflated for all of 30 seconds. 30 seconds. And then I was like, okay, this part of our life is over. We're moving on to the next thing. Right. And then I started to give to the next organization, which was Toastmasters. And holy crap, did Toastmasters shower me with recognition. And it's just, I don't think I deserved it.
They were better equipped for it. Here's the other piece, though. For 30 seconds, you were like, wait, I know I deserve that. So you did give yourself the award, which is actually the best reward, an award. At the same time, you created an opportunity for someone to receive that kind of recognition and get even more involved.
Yep.
So again, gratitude grows in a forward motion, in that even though you were done with the organization and moving on to something that you were growing into, you created a scenario where people could be recognized and encouraged to continue on.
Exactly.
So much bigger than you think.
Exactly. And you could argue that I'm still telling the story, but I'm telling the story because exactly what you just said. It grows in the forward direction. That is my new favorite quote. Is that you? Is that your quote? Is that,
That's
do I
me.
need to give you the attribution for that?
You can do
Okay.
whatever you want with it. I'm
Because
sure
it is my
it'll
new
grow
favorite
into
quote.
forward motion.
Because that's it. But back to the whole reason why I told the story was the taking and the receiver and the takers. I was a giver in that situation, but on the other end, in my next life, I don't know if I was a taker or a receiver.
But the other piece of that is you receive something you may not have realized, and that is that one, you received the the magnitude of the reward ceremony or the recognition ceremony that is now ongoing. Your daughter received all of that. They didn't close the chapter. And so you actually created an abundance for everyone. In addition, you take what you learn from that experience, and that's what moves forward with you, that nobody could give that to you the way that you, one moment at a time, learned it and earned it on your own.
Exactly. And the 10 years that I spent, it was beyond my daughter's troop. I did a lot of stuff beyond my daughter's troop. There was my daughter's troop, and then there was everything else that I was doing. But I learned how to throw huge events.
Yep.
And I learned how to bring people together. And I took all those skills and I moved on to the next thing. And when I moved from Girl Scouts to Toastmasters, I threw huge events with hundreds of people,
Right.
thousands of people in attendance, and then I took that after I was done with Toastmasters. I threw a Star Wars festival, and I would not have been able to throw the Star Wars festival that had something like 50 people showed up in character, in costume, 50,
Nice.
50 stormtroopers and Jedi and all. It was, I would not have been able to do that if I hadn't have been a Girl Scout leader.
Right. So we do get something by giving. You don't always realize what it is, and it's not always equal. It's not always from the person you're giving it to. So it's, you just give because you want to give, and that it fills you intrinsically, and then the rest will follow. This whole
go ahead. I was going to say, isn't that beautiful?
Thanks. I was trying to pull it back, tie it into, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a micropreneur, sometimes you're doing things and you're like, this isn't getting me anywhere, but it actually probably is getting you somewhere. It may be honing your message. It may be the best iteration and version of what you are creating and the business that you have it today. I can give you an example of that from myself.
Oh, yeah, please do.
I started out as the widowguide.com because that's what started all of this. So I became the Widow Guide thinking that I could help people as I help myself, my family, and then other people one-on-one. People were coming to me. Then, well, here's what happened. All the employees that I had reporting to me throughout my years as an executive, they were like, hey, this is amazing. Congratulations. When are you going to write the book we wanted you to write? I'm like, I will do that right now, because now I know how to write a book. So I wrote New Management Blueprint, how to spark talent to create winning results. And that book also became an international bestseller. And it's like, these were love letters. One was a love letter to the widow I helped. The second one was a love letter to all of my direct reports who trusted me to help them with their career trajectories. And they are all quite successful now. They still come back to me as, can you give me a referral? Can you speak on my behalf? Yes, I'd be happy to. And now I'm writing Find Love Now, because it's all the same stuff. It's relationshiping. And I have people coming to me. One of my clients, we've known each other since we were 9 years old. And she says, Michelle, you've always been doing this. So, I mean, I've people are coming to me from people I've worked with. They're saying, help me find my person. Or I don't think I could ever find a person. And I said, well, let's talk about it and see. And she's like, I'm confident I can do it now. People come who I've known for years saying, I don't trust myself in intimate relationships. And so we have a conversation, and they're like, I know how to trust myself in intimate relationships now. or I don't know how to navigate obstacles and challenges in relationships. And each time I'm like, well, what if we tried these 3 easy steps? And they're like, I could do that. And let's see what happens. And what happens is they go from lonely to loved. But it's not the way that your parents taught you. It's not what your friend did. It's not, it's always the dating rules of engagement have changed. The relationshiping rules of engagement have changed in the world as it is. So what we were talking about is, how can you take the knowledge from one experience and transfer that to another? So I'm giving my example, even just in my iteration of being an entrepreneur, as your audience may very well be. I went from being the widow guide to the spark the light lady to the art of relationshiping. And this is an area where people are coming to me again from all over the world, all walks of life, regardless if they're anxious attachers or secure attachers, or, if, connecting is something that they have challenges doing, or if they're accustomed to getting into this great relationship and then they just think, oh, this will never work. And they cut and run so that they're the ones who cut off the relationship, which means they can maintain their ego. I mean, whatever it is, I've been able to help people find love that they've never felt before. And it's the most exciting and rewarding gift that I could possibly give and get by giving.
So beautiful. So I want to talk to you. We need to wrap up. So I have 2 more questions. All right.
Yeah.
So I want to talk to you a little bit about the clarity of what you do. And even though you've had 3 iterations of your business, each iteration got you closer to the verb of relationshiping.
Right.
So your clarity statement, for listeners, before I interview someone on the podcast, I ask them to fill out an intake form so that I know that they're a good fit for the show. And one of the questions is, why do you want to be a guest on the show? And Michelle's answer was, people come to me to help them attract, keep, and enjoy the right love in their lives. The clarity of that statement, that's called a unique selling proposition. So Michelle knows exactly who her target audience is, and she knows what she can do to help them. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
I love that.
Again,
I guess that wasn't really a question. That was more of a statement.
Thank you.
But
I can speak to it.
Go ahead.
This all happened during COVID lockdown. And I was on this happy hour call. There were plenty of people on the call. We started doing it on a regular basis so that we weren't so socially isolated. And throughout, we would meet a few times a week. So we really got to know each other. And there was one day when some of the people on the call were like, God, it's so lonely and so isolating. And dating right now you're risking your life to go on a date, because we just didn't know what was going on in the pandemic at that time. And, I'm like, boy, it better be good if, to meet in person, if it's going to be risking your life to meet them. And they said, but look who, so we're online dating, but then they go, look who we're attracting. And they put their phone up to the screen and they showed some of the pictures of the people who they're attracting. And I'm like, do not go out with that guy. He is going to chop you up before he's done with you. What does your profile say that this is who you're attracting? Do you want me to help you with that? And the words came out of my mouth, and every single rectangle on, the call was like, yes, we want you to help us. And I'm like, ooh, my integrity is such that I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do. Okay. So that was a Friday night. By Saturday morning, I had an entire coaching arc done, because I realized I might be able to up level their personal profile. It works just like you write a resume to get a great job. You write a personal profile to attract the right person to you. But then what? They're not going to know how to engage in conversation or up level the relationship. And how are they going to act when they're in front of this person for the first time, or actually have the relationship? And then there's going to be obstacles, and they're going to run into the same challenges they always run into. And how are they going to know how to get through that? So that's actually where this all started, because they were saying, Michelle, how are you dating right now? And it's going so well for you, and we're not. So, really, what they wanted was to attract, keep, and enjoy the right relationships in their lives. So that's how it started. And I just went ahead and did it. And I'm like, here's what you need to know. And I put together this whole program. And they were like, this is great. Can we invite some friends? I'm like, sure. And it's so fun for me. I thought everyone knew how to do this. Clearly, with a little education, some tools in their tool belt, they can learn it very quickly.
So I keep thinking about 10 years from now, how many people are going to say, because of COVID,
I know.
my business model is completely different than I thought it was going to be because of COVID. And I love it. And the fact that you had your business plan basically mapped out the next morning meant that it was what you were supposed to be doing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It feels so good.
I
It's
had something very similar happen to me. So the episode drops tomorrow from the date that we're recording this, but several weeks ago from the date that you're listening, the people listening to this. But I did an interview with a mindset coach. Her name is Carol Kane. And during the conversation, I basically sparked my new coaching program.
nice.
The episode drops tomorrow in real life, right? Not three weeks ago or 4 weeks ago in computer life or in podcast life, but tomorrow in my life, and as we're recording this. And so I had between the time that I interviewed her and tomorrow to launch a new coaching program. Well, guess what?
Done.
It launches on the same day as her interview.
Oh my God, that's perfect.
Well, no, because I said it during the interview, so I had to have it ready.
Right.
I had to have it ready.
Your integrity is also high. You do what you say you're going to do.
And that is a really important part of relationshiping is integrity. Because
Oh,
who's
yeah.
going to trust you if you say you're going to do something and then you don't do it?
Right.
You got to be true to your word.
True to your word, true to your values. This is where I start with everyone to figure out what your value system is, what are your values, and then to stay in your value system.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I help people help themselves. And I keep my own persona, my own ideas. It's their life, not mine. So I can help guide, but if I'm making decisions for you, that's not your life. So when someone says, oh, I'm thinking about this, or I want to do that, here's an example. I had a client who was very upset because she was seeking approval from someone outside her core value system, and she wasn't getting that approval. So that makes sense, right? You're not going to get approval from someone outside your core value system. Here's the challenge. It was her father. So she really needed to figure something out. So she came to me for help on this topic. And we really did figure out what was her core values. Where did those values come from? Secret spoiler alert, they came from him. But it was her version of what he was teaching her. And then he went ahead with his true value system, which was very different. And we were able for her to gain the acceptance she needed and understand that really the true acceptance comes from within yourself, not externally. And it's a good thing that she reached out when she did, because he quickly became ill and passed, and she had come to a peace and a resolution and a connection with so much love between the two of them, because she allowed him to be who he truly is and his authentic self. And she understood and understands still who she truly is. So starting with your core values is such a good place to start.
Well, and it's interesting because you do get your core values from your parents, and sometimes your core values form because you don't want to be like your parents.
That's
Sometimes
true.
your core values form because you do want to be like your parents.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. And then sometimes your parents surprise you. My dad surprised me recently. My dad's 80 years old. We were on the phone. He's going to turn 80 in just a couple. He's probably going to turn 80 on the day this episode drops.
There you go.
So, anyway, he's about to turn 80 and we're having a conversation and he said something that I said, Dad, who are you? And what'd you do with my father? Because it was just so opposite of anything that he'd ever said in the past, but it made perfect sense that he would feel that way today. Because his life experience is different. So right. Yeah. And I am who I am because of him and my mother, right? So.
Right. And your life experiences and your choices. Really, I mean, we come into this world and we've got, 7 things that really need to be taken care of so that we can find homeostasis or, back to a contentedness. And once we have those things, whether
you got to share those 7 things.
Oh, sorry. Too hot, too cold. I got you on the edge of your seat. Too hot, too cold, hungry, thirsty. You need stimulation. You're tired. I'm missing one. You're hurt. Hot, cold, hungry, thirsty. I need stimulation. I need love. That's the last one.
That's like what you're born into the world needing.
Right.
Babies.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Those are the 7 things. So when we had kids, we would go through the cycle if the baby kept crying. What is wrong? What is wrong? What is wrong? And it was like, are you hungry? Are you tired? Are you hot? Are you cold? Do you need stimulation? Are you tired?
Is your diaper full?
It wasn't until what was it?
Is your diaper full?
Is your diaper full? We took off the onesie and realized that one of my hairs was wrapped around his little baby toe. I was like, hurt. Oh. Solved. But we had to keep cycling through. So you're born into the world with this. And then at some point, we learn it's with your brilliant brain that you can gain acceptance, approval, and build community by responding in specific ways. This is how we become anxious attachers or avoidance attachers or secure attachers. It's also how we learn our love languages. It's also how we, build community and how secure we are. And we decide whether we're givers or takers or receivers or whatever we choose to be. It's based on these early experiences of how we respond or how we call out for support, help, love, connection. And at some point in our maturation, we hope it's earlier rather than when we're 80, that we learn to find all of those things within ourselves. So we don't need to outsource our happiness to others. Sounds like your dad found it. Awesome.
He's actually a pretty cool dude. Okay, so it's the point of the interview that I don't like. It means it's time to wrap up. But is there anything that I didn't ask you that you want to answer?
Yeah. How can someone get in touch with me so that I could help them? So, for example, if you, listener, would like to reach out to theartofrelationshiping.com, I would be happy to share all kinds of resources with you there. And if you're saying, I want more, I think I need to learn from you, Michelle, go to theartofrelationshiping.com and schedule some time with me. I can't wait to meet you.
Awesome. And there will be links to all of that in the show notes, including links to Michelle's books. So check the show notes, gratitudegeek.com, episode 134, or just go to theartofrelationshiping.com. And there's 2 P's in relationshipping. All right. Final question. This is my favorite part of the interview. So I go from my least favorite part of the interview to my favorite part of the interview.
Good. You put the rewards in first.
Exactly. So for whom or what are you most grateful?
We spoke about this a little bit. I am most grateful to my late husband and my children who teach me everything, who I get to share my life adventures with. And I know that on the day that I die, I know I've really lived because life is better with good love in it.
Thanks for joining us this week for Gratitude Geek, the relationship marketing podcast, helping micropreneurs find your micro influencer magic. Your time is valuable, and I am ever so grateful that you chose to spend your time with us today. Be sure to check the show notes at gratitudegeek.com, episode 134, for links to all the groovy resources mentioned today, and of course, to connect with Michelle Hoffman. And while you're there, why not subscribe to the show on Audible, iTunes, Stitcher, or any of your favorite podcast players. Our theme music is track 14 by Rev Brock and Soul Lily. I've been your host, Kandas Rodarte. Join me on my mission to spread gratitude, sow seeds of appreciation, and harvest a bounty of generosity and kindness. Stay groovy, my friends.
Thank you so much for having me here. Gratitude grows at the forward motion. Stay groovy, my friends. Stay groovy.